Hello, my name is Tiffany House, and I am a tax, estate, and charitable strategist. Today, we're going to talk about donor advised fund and explore how they can help someone selling a business. So, really, what a donor advised fund is in essence is a charitable savings account. It allows a donor or a family to set aside their donations now for future contributions and grants to other nonprofit organizations. Now, how this works is there is a large sponsoring organization, pictured here really as the egg. It is a 501c3 organization, and it allows the donor to create small funds or large funds within it that the donor has control over, granting out to other 501c3 nonprofits over time. So, the beauty of a donor advised fund is the donor is able to give a gift and receive the tax deduction immediately for that gift in the year that it was given. So it works out well for someone selling a business because they're able to get that tax deduction for funding their future philanthropic charitable desires. You might have heard of Fidelity Charitable, which is now the largest nonprofit in the United States. What Fidelity Charitable is the egg. It is a sponsoring donor advised fund program that allows people to have their donor advised fund accounts. Donor advised funds are gaining great popularity. They're simplistic and really easy to implement and create great outcomes for business owners and for individual donors. So I see three main reasons why it's so important to be able to include donor advised funds. For one, you can teach philanthropy to future generations. At my household, not only do we have nonprofits, 10% of our estate going to nonprofits organizations in our estate plan, but we also have a donor advised fund. And every year, each of our children and my husband and I can pick two organizations to grant to from our donor advised fund. My children have to educate themselves on the different nonprofits, choose it, and follow up with the organization. I've also had it be used with a client back when I was a financial advisor who had a wayward daughter in college, and he really wanted to get her on track. So he created a donor advised fund for her with $15,000 in it. She didn't know what to do with it at first, but eventually she found a bakery that employed all people with special needs, and she really got engaged into what they were up to. She ended up granting $5,000 to the organization and ended up working there. And it really taught and inspired her and sparked her philanthropy for life. So teaching philanthropy through a donor advised fund is a marvelous way to do it. And it can even be granted out after your life by your children. I always like to try and have that forced family meeting after somebody has passed on for their heirs to be able to continue their legacy. Also, it's great for complex assets. Now, I mentioned Fidelity Charitable. Raymond James has one. There's independent organizations. There's community foundations. There's religious organizations that have donor advised funds. But there's also organizations that can handle complicated assets. So we can look at putting business interest or other more complex assets into a donor advised fund, sell it, have those proceeds be within the donor advised fund, and have that fund our future philanthropy. And most importantly, it doesn't have to be all of the asset. It can be a portion, a quarter, an eighth, whatever the donor might need to offset the other tax liability that they might have coming in that year. The other great thing about a donor advised fund is it can be used with other strategies, like a charitable remainder trust or a charitable lead trust, which offer some different but unique ways to be able to do either income tax planning, income for the donor for life, estate tax planning. Each of those tools provides different benefits, but you can use the donor advised fund as the benefactor of some of that other charitable trust planning. So really, I see donor advised funds as the Swiss Army knife. You're able to easily create them, put in assets, choose different providers, get different levels of engagement from the donors. The donors can choose in some organizations how the funds are invested, and other organizations, they just need to go with what the provider has agreed upon. But it provides flexibility and ease of use. So I hope that you enjoyed knowing a little bit more about donor advised funds. I just want to reiterate, I am an estate and tax charitable strategist, and you can always seek advice from your own advisory team. I'm not here to provide tax and legal advice. So thank you so much.